KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
Get off my lawn.
Watergate. Watergate.
Jim Schutze here with Get Off My Lawn, the KNON radio version of Get Off My Lawn on the Dallas Observer website. And we're going to talk about some stuff. We always talk about some stuff here. We're going to try to talk about some stuff that we're not supposed to talk about. That's the whole point. And I hope toward the end of the show that I can get to some stuff I really shouldn't talk about. It's about Mike Miles and the schools. We've talked about that a lot in the past here. Anyway, before we get there, I want to talk about what's in my column in the Observer this week. Something that you might want to go look at. It's the Observer's still in the newsstands, and you can also find the column online at DallasObserver.com, or it's sometimes easier just to Google my name, Jim Schutze, Dallas Observer. This is about the Arts District downtown, and I'll cut to the chase and tell you what the story's really about. It's about Dallas Black Dance Theater and what looks to me like an effort to push Dallas Black Dance Theater and some other entities maybe out of the performance venues, the big performance venues, the Wiley and the Winspear in our shiny new Arts District. I have to make a little declaration, I guess, at the beginning to say that I'm not a big arts guy. I'm not an authority on any of our arts institutions. I've off and on gone to them. I confess, more comfortable when they were all in Fair Park. I just like Fair Park. I like older venues. I like the feel. The new Arts District on the northeast corner of downtown is this huge new neighborhood given over entirely to great big glittering new edifices built for the opera, theater, the symphony, and so on. And it's very shiny and new and imposing, and maybe I don't feel like it's my kind of hangout. But I've been to some stuff there. What I'm talking about here is not really. Is it a question of art or not? I don't know. You have to go back to why that arts district exists in the first place. In the 70s, a lady named McDermott, who was the head of the board for the Dallas Museum of Art, kind of spearheaded a movement to get all of the cultural institutions out of Fair Park. And she said, and she's had consultants' studies to back her up, that the main audience for the arts didn't live anywhere near Fair Park, that the main audience lived near North Dallas. And so it was important to move those entities out of Fair Park in South Dallas and put them on the north side of downtown where they were closer to the Park Cities and North Dallas. And that was the stated goal at the time. Now, the area where the Arts District was created was originally a black neighborhood. Because it was a black neighborhood, Dallas considered those land values to be low. It was a lot of it was a very nice black neighborhood. It was upper middle class and professionals who lived there. But in the way of the world back in those days, the land was worth less, because even though the houses were nice and the people had good jobs and all that stuff, they were African American. So that made the land worth less. So basically, when you created the Arts District, you pulled all these resources out of one black neighborhood, the Fair Park area, and you kind of wiped out another black neighborhood, and to find them a new home. That may be overstating it. That neighborhood was kind of fading away for other reasons. But look, between what went on in the Thomas and Hall area, and the area that used to be called near there, that's short North Dallas, and what went on in the area that's now the Arts District, there was a whole bunch of real estate going on and a whole bunch of pushing a black neighborhood off the map. And there was a whole bunch of money made. The late Trammell Crow of Trammell Crow Company, one of the greatest real estate magnates in the country, just as a little piece of what went on in the Arts District, he just bought some land in there. Back after they announced they were going to turn it into an arts district, he just bought some land real cheap. He sat on it for 3 years, and he made $9.3 million in the value that land went up when the city announced that, okay, this isn't going to be a black neighborhood anymore. It's going to be an arts district. So there was a lot of stuff going on there. It so happens that some of the buildings and some of the entities in that area have a long, deep, important history in the city's history. One of them, for example, was the old Moreland Y at the top of Flora Street. The Moreland Y, starting in about 1902, was a principal. It was the Black Y, and as such, and under the very, very harsh segregation laws of the time, black people were not allowed to gather in certain numbers at a lot of other venues. So it became much more than a Y. It was a community gathering spot. There's a wonderful community room there with a big fireplace at one end and a kitchen off to the side. Lovely room. And it was the de facto meeting place for the black community. It was where people stayed, black entertainers and writers and preachers and people who came to town because they couldn't stay elsewhere. And it happened to be where the first formal civil rights activism started in the city, in that it's where the first groups met. So it's this building that has all this history. And in about, when was it? I'm thinking 1976, a lady named Ann Williams started Black Dance Theater, which was one of these funny little dreams that people have in Dallas. I think the great thing about Dallas is it's a city of people's sort of powerful, eccentric dreams, and this was one of them. And Ann Williams is one of those just one-off, unusual people who make stuff happen. So she starts with nothing and recruits local dancers, and she's got borrowed practice space. And over the years, she creates this company called Dallas Black Dance Theater that is internationally respected. They're the only outfit from Dallas that was invited to take part in the London Olympics. The New York Times and the Washington Post have compared the Dallas Black Dance Theater favorably to the Alvin Ailey troupe in New York. And it has a very impressive tour schedule around the country and around the world. So this is a very respected group. So anyway, when the development of the Arts District started, Dallas Black Dance Theater moved into the old Moreland Y, and they raised a ton of money. They raised over $10 million. They got city money too, and the amount I know of is, I think it's $2.6 million from the 2003 bond issue. They may have gotten more than that, but they raised a bunch of money, and they redid the Moreland Y as their headquarters. And they've really, you should go tour it. It's they've done a very smart, sensitive job of turning it into their place, their offices, their rehearsal hall, but preserving the history of the place. So you can go on any given day into to view their main rehearsal room, which is the old gym, and you walk around this mezzanine thing around this like a balcony without any seats in it around the gym, and you look down and there are the dancers rehearsing. And somebody who knows the history of that building can tell you all these incredibly important things that happened in that place when it was also a meeting hall for the community. So anyway, it's a cool building. It's got a great history, and it has this wonderful arts entity, the Dallas Black Dance Theater, in it, and they've done a great job of preserving it. They've been, when we voted, we had to vote for bonds for that arts district, and it was way more than the $2.6 million I'm talking about. The public has put a ton of money into that thing. And when these various bond issues have come up, they've always put the Dallas Black Dance Theater out in front as their, quote, resident company to make sure we all understand how diverse the arts district is, and that's about, among other things, getting black votes for those bonds. And the Dallas Black Dance Theater, as far as I know, has always happily, willingly gone out front and helped sell these bond issues. So now we got all these new, shiny new places like the Windspear and the other performance venues that are open. The Dallas Black Dance Theater, from the beginning, always had a 3-week season in there. And they always got the same 3 weeks that they asked for. They pay rent for this. They don't. It's not like anybody's giving it to them. They have to pay rent to be in these buildings. But the dates are very important, and their audience kind of counts on these certain dates and so on. And they need to have their season all in one 3-week period for a bunch of reasons. It's so they can advertise it and people know when it is. It's also because they're out on the road touring. And they need to make sure that that's all set up and fixed and set down, because the tour thing is something they have to set up like 5 and 6 years in advance. It's amazing. To have these dates nailed down around the world where they're going to appear, they got to do that all way in advance. So this year, actually at the end of last year, the AT&T Performing Arts Center, which runs these performance venues, kind of lets them know late in the day, like toward the end of the year, oh, sorry, you can't have your 3 weeks anymore. And they said, what? Now this happened to the ballet as well. AT&T, as they call them ATPAC, AT&T Performing Arts Center, just kind of told them, nah, you can't have those dates anymore. We got to split you up and give you some other dates. And they said, but don't worry, these are great dates, And they gave them some dates around Memorial Day and other dates split up around the year. And they said, we think you'll be able to do really well with these dates. Well, Dallas Black Dance Theater is run by some pretty smart people. Zanetta Drew is the acting director. And anyway, they know what they're doing. And so they sort of dug around. And they found that, in fact, these dates they were being given were terrible dates for a bunch of reasons, because of school letting out and people being out of town and this reason and that. They were terrible. Not only were they terrible dates, but ATPAC, which was telling them, no, these are great dates, just take them, you'll be happy. ATPAC had told other entities in writing in the arts district, hey, you don't want these dates, they suck. So ATPAC knew that these were bad dates, and they were pushing them off on Dallas Black Dance Theater. I only learned about this stuff because there was a weird story in the morning news. You know, you have to read the morning news kind of the way people in the Soviet Union used to read Pravda. You have to read between the lines. And there was this story about, there's some kind of issues going on in the Arts District, and I don't think it mentioned Dallas Black Dance Theater. It was just talking about the ballet. And turns out this morning news story said some of these groups didn't get the dates they wanted, but how come that happened? Well, the morning news quotes a guy from ATPAC saying, well, they just didn't get their stuff together in time. You know, they're kind of, the implication was they're a little bit laggardly, a little bit lazy about setting this up, and so they screwed themselves. I sent an email to them. I talked to the ballet. I think they mentioned, no, it was when I talked to ATPAC. They mentioned Dallas Black Dance Theater. So I sent an email to Dallas Black Dance Theater and kind of said, how come you're so sloppy? How come you messed up your deal? How come you didn't get your dates set? Now you're going to get pushed out of the Arts District. And the president of their board, a lady named Georgia Scaife, sent me a long email setting me straight, saying, we didn't mess anything up. We've been pushing for years for a 10-year contract. And we just found out about this was dumped on us at the end. She set me straight. I mean, I won't go through the whole detailed list of stuff, but she set me straight on a lot of stuff that convinced me that somebody wasn't telling the truth here, and that the Dallas Black Dance Theater, in effect, is getting nudged out of there. They're getting pushed to these dates that won't work for them. If they stay there, they won't be able to sell tickets. And one person connected with Dallas Black Dance Theater spoke to me off the record, and this is after, like I say, Dallas Black Dance Theater didn't seek me out. I went after them pretty hard. But after we got to talking a little, I asked this one person, well, what do you think they really want you to do? What's the deal here? And the person said, well, they have suggested to us at one point that we might want to go back to Fair Park. Okay, I'm laughing, but it ain't funny. It is bitterly ironic to me that you pull all these institutions out of Fair Park, you drag them over to the Arts District, you go to the public and say, we want your money to do this. We want a bunch of public tax money to set this up. And don't worry, it's going to be very diverse. Oh, man, everybody in the city will be there. This is for everybody. This isn't just for the rich white people in North Dallas. You get this whole thing set up and running, and then you start, what? Pushing the only truly local entities that reflect local culture, you start pushing them out? It's wrong at a whole bunch of levels. One of the dumbest pieces of it is that somebody thinks this makes Dallas look good. I don't think so. I think having this world-renowned local dance company in there makes us look good, and people come and see that and say, oh, Dallas isn't the redneck place we thought it was. No, it's cool. There are a lot of people in Dallas. Oh, anyway, I see we're coming up on our first break, and we'll come back to this, and I hope you'll give me a call if you have thoughts about it.
Knon thanks you for your pledge to the recent pledge drive. Now's the time to make your pledge count. Send your pledge to Knon, P.O. Box 710909, Dallas, Texas 75371. If you missed our pledge drive, you can still support community radio by pledging on the web at knon.org. Your pledge only counts if you pay it. Knon, Box 710909, Dallas, Texas 75371. Be sure to put the name of the show that you're supporting on your check, money order, or envelope. Questions about Knon Pledge Drive? Call 214-828-9500, extension 234.
When they're gone for good. This is Scott from KNON's Texas Blues Radio telling you don't miss out on some great blues. KNON's Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 Blues CD. It's a CD put together by real blues fans for real blues fans like you. Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 features great local blues from Michael J. and the Paul Bird Band, JJ and the Detonators, the Chris Watson Band, the Two Tones, Rough Cut Blues Band, Jeff Stone with Charlie Love, Dave Millsap, Sirloin and the Ass Kicking Machine, Tutu Jones, Blues Boy Bo, Buddy Whittington, Andrea Dawson, Kirkland James, Sonny Colley, and Johnny Red and the Roosters. Get a copy now at Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie, Recordtown in Fort Worth, and in Dallas at Bill's Records. This is a Dallas Blues collector's item. A very limited amount of vinyl copies can be found at Forever Young Records, the sponsor of this great blues project. CD downloads are available at cdbaby.com. Whether you get it as a download, on vinyl, or on CD, all the proceeds will benefit KNON. For more info on Texas Blues Radio Volume 5, visit knon.org.
Get off my lawn.
Jim Schutze back with Get Off My Lawn. We've been talking about the Arts District. Call me up if you know about this or you have feelings about it. 972-647-1893. I'm going to get off this in a minute and talk about the other thing that I really shouldn't talk about. Anyway, if you have feelings about the stuff I went through in the first part of the show, about Dallas Black Dance Theater getting nudged out of the Arts District, give me a call, 972-647-1893. As a last thought about it, what I was saying at the end of the first session is that somebody doesn't get what value it has for the city to have this internationally renowned dance company that does reflect the diversity of the city very prominently displayed in that damn arts district. Far from pushing them out, they should be going to them first and saying, what can we do to make this work even better for you? What you wind up with, it just plays to this stereotype that I confess I have of the Arts District, which is a venue for rich white people to go listen to the opera and stuff. And the rest of the city doesn't count, in spite of the fact that the rest of the city has been asked to pay for a whole bunch of it. Anyway, call me up at 972-647-1893. And we got Keisha on line one. Keisha, how are you this morning?
I'm blessed. How are you doing, sir?
Good. I don't know that I'm blessed, but I'm good. Were you calling me about the Arts District? Keisha?
Lost her.
Oh, I lost her.
I've got Tanya on too.
Okay, it's Tanya on too. I better not say I'm not blessed again. I think. Tanya, are you there? Hello, Tanya?
Hello?
Yeah, Tony. Tony,
yeah,
I'm calling you Tanya. I'm sorry,
okay,
Tony.
Yeah, I'm not Tanya, yes. I read your article in Observer, and the one thing I think that it should have put a clarion call for the same black community get organized for the ISD. I mean, these same people who, and see, part of this is the fact, one of the reasons why blacks in the southern part of Dallas don't trust North Dallas people. And this adds to the perception of distrust because the thing is, okay, I'm there, cool. Now it goes in the school district, it goes in the bond issue, and North Dallas knows this. Everything they do is for them. Highland Park University Park. That's what's run Dallas. It's always run Dallas. And the people who move here, the moving shakers, to go there to make policies. Every policy that I've known, and I've been here almost all my life, has always came out of Highland Park University Park, and it's been there for the convenience. St. Thomas used to be black. There's nothing there, but I think a landmark that says, hey, this was a black area, at one time. But what they've done is they said, okay, and one part I like about the article was Cameron Crowe, how he made money off of it. And I've noticed some black politicians who go to him when they need something done. These same people. So that mistrust of Southern Dallas comes in with issues like this, and I'm disappointed that I haven't heard a black elected official have not come out, or maybe they have not read it. Maybe that's the issue. They may have not read the article.
Well, okay, but look, Tony, my argument there is going to be that a lot of the black elected officials you're talking about are very dependent on the Citizens Council and the Park City's money. That's where they're getting their campaign money. I mean, that's been one of my problems for years, that we have and I'm not talking about everybody. I think there are officials that show a lot of independence, but some of them are really in the pocket of these people. It's amazing how many people are in the pocket of these people. I can tell you that Dallas Black Dance Theater was not happy to get a call from me, and they didn't want to talk about this stuff at first because even though they were getting pushed out of there, I think they're afraid of these people too.
Well, but see, then I have to question these black politicians because they come to our community and say, hey, you need to stand behind us because we have your interests at heart. And full disclosure, say, you know what? I'm a politician. I do whatever it means to stay in office. Mm-hmm. But they come to us and saying, well, North Dallas is just to get the battle cry out, and then on the other hand, take money from under the table. So now I question a lot of these politicians and say, okay, now you want to coalesce my vote to get what you want, but you won't even be honest with me, and you treat me like a child when it comes to the voting booth.
What I notice in covering this stuff over years and going to community meetings is that if you listen to people in Southern Dallas, mm-hmm. they tend to get it right. They tend to say, hey, we want support for single-family resident. We want some nice neighborhoods here. We want some things done. We want law enforcement. We want code enforcement. We want an effort to improve this community. By the time it gets into the hands of the city council members, however, they're doing all these deals to shove more low-income housing into Southern Dallas. And as we saw with Don Hill and that whole mess, it turns out they're getting a little something for themselves out of it. But something gets lost between the community and its elected leaders. I guess that's true everywhere.
And I want to add one more thing before I get the phone.
Yeah.
Last week, this is why I wanted to agree with you. I called back, but I know I only get one call in. I agree with the Spanish lady position and some of the black principles. Mm-hmm. I've heard this on other black shows where they have said, "Why should my kid learn Spanish? He's American." And if you listen to them, it sounds like racist white of the 1960s when busing happened. But if you tell them they're not racist, Hispanic, yeah. And I want them to be like this. I want my son to be bilingual. I want him to know more than one language. Yeah. It's not something that's foreign to me. Yeah. But you do have that segment of my population that is frightful. And when you say this, they're doing jobs that we don't even want to do anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they need to go back to their home country.
Yeah.
And you have a point. And I just wanted to add that, and I'll leave you with that.
All right. Keep listening, because now I'm going to talk about that stuff I shouldn't talk about. Right. And here's why I shouldn't talk about it. Now, some of you may not know this. This may come as a shock to you. But I'm an old white guy. I don't know, maybe you thought that I was African American or Hispanic, but I'm not. And I think actually most of you probably figured this out a long time ago. And so as an old white guy, there are some things I just shouldn't talk about. So that's what I want to talk about. That's what's wrong with me. That's how I roll. So this is my question. And I want you to call me up, 972-647-1893. This is what I want to talk about. Is Mike Miles, the superintendent of schools, is he a black guy? Do you think he's a black guy? He says he's a black guy. One parent was African American, the other was Japanese. And he doesn't talk about it much. The only reason I've heard him talk about it was I had to ask him this stupid question. A lot of what we do as reporters is ask stupid questions. We are the stupid question askers of the world. And I had to ask him, because people in the black community were accusing him of being a racist, of being anti-black racist. So I had to say, Superintendent Miles, how do you respond to the accusation that you're a racist? And there's this long silence. He looks at me. It's kind of embarrassing. He looks at me and he says, okay, are you aware that I'm black? And I said, I don't know. Everybody, this is a world where everybody's everything. It's a way more diverse world than it used to be. And I don't go around trying to figure out everybody's ethnic origins. There's not a big future in that. You know, you forget the city. You go out to the suburbs now, you can't tell where people are from. People are from everywhere. I had a friend who was telling me he moved out there, and he said his kid plays with people on the street who, they might be Middle Eastern, they might be African, they might be European. He doesn't know. And I said, well, do you ask him? And he said, no, you don't ask. It's just not, in this world, you don't grill people about that. So, no, I hadn't really thought about Miles's ethnic background, but he says he's black. I think that, okay, he's black. I think you get to say what you are in this world. His perplexity with this question, however, is mine. Why? I've been blabbering on a little long here. Let me take breathe into a paper bag for a second. And anyway, we have Gerald on line 3. Gerald, what's up with you today?
All right, I am still working, and that's a good thing. And I want to say I want to give you props on things, and like you said, bringing up questions that you ain't supposed to be asking. That's a bunch of bull crap. I'd tell anyone that if it's the truth, speak it.
Oh.
You know, because 89.3 makes sure that we get that, and that's what I love about it. And I want to thank you for putting in the time on the weekends, all of you, hostess, you know, because, you know, you can be doing something else instead of bringing us vital information that we need to hear.
Well, Gerald, I thank you a lot for calling. That's good to hear. Thanks for calling up and sharing that with us. It actually helps a lot to get a couple of props every once in a while. If you want to call me up and tell me how much you like me, please do so at 972-647-1893. I don't get enough of that at home. So give me a call, 972-647-1893. The reason, why would I ask a stupid thing like, is Mike Miles, the superintendent of schools, black? Why are we even talking about this? Well, we're talking, look, I hear it all the time. I'm talking about it because we're talking about it, because it's on the street. It's what I hear. It's the thing that never gets into the mainstream coverage, but it has to do with a perception, and I think Tony was touching on this a little bit, or beginning to, a perception in southern Dallas that Mike Miles works for North Dallas, that he's working for the white guys, and that's why he's gone after these black principals. I've written a ton about this. I don't believe it's true. One of the interesting things I notice about Miles, I haven't talked to him a lot, but Miles has he has a very skeptical center, and I don't think anybody tells him what to do. I've heard complaints from some of the white guys, the rich white guys, that they can't tell him what to do. They'd probably like to more so. I think he's a very independent person. He's not from Dallas. He doesn't have a Dallas history. He is from elsewhere. He's a military guy and was in the diplomatic corps, so he's been all over the world. But he says he's black. I'm curious what the perception is from southern Dallas. Why, even if he Even if his posture on school reform makes people mad, why does that have to make him a racist? And I got Gerald back. We lost him. Gerald, I'm sorry. Are you back with us?
Yes, I am. I gotta get used to getting on this touch-tone phone here.
Okay.
Accidentally.
It's working.
Yes,
it's working better.
Yeah, righty. Thank you. You know, you asked that question, is Mike Miles back?
Yeah.
Well, I looked at and tried to study what is Black American, what is African American.
Yeah.
You know, my understanding from what I was taught as a kid, that anyone that's African American, they came over here, or they born to African descent that migrated over here.
Right.
And a Black American is a Black person that was born over here with Black parents, mother and daddy. And
they both have to. They both have to be Black.
Yeah, they both have to be Black American. And you know, they never did put African American on the birth certificate until I don't even know if they do it now. But I was born in '67, and mine got Black on there. Before my brother was born in '65, and it have color.
So what is? Let me ask you a question. Let's say you got a kid who's got a Black father and a white mother, and he goes to school, and the other kids say, "Well, what are you?" What does he say?
He can claim either or. If both parents are from born here in America, he can claim that he either one or the other. He can say he's Black American or white American.
Yeah.
Or he can put it mixed. Other rather. They don't allow you to say mixed right now.
That was what I understood the law was, and it comes out of Louisiana, where there have been debates about this stuff forever, is that you are what you declare yourself to be.
Yeah. Well, you know, you go back to time and genealogy time and all. You was what your daddy is.
If Mike Miles says I'm Black, is he wrong?
He being his, like you say, his Japanese and what other race?
Black, African American.
Okay, well, if his daddy was born here, his daddy is Black, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, his daddy born here in America, but then he can say he's American Japanese because his mother is Japanese.
Yeah, but can't he say he's Black?
Well,
I hear you. You're not quite ready to give him the card there. You're hanging back a little.
Because his daddy was born over here. Yes, he can say he's Black. He's Black American.
And if you want to go to the negative side of it, and the racist side of it, the white people who are racist are going to tell him he's Black. They're not going to, you know.
That's because it go back to that if you got any ounce of Black in you, well then you're Black. Nowadays, what declare you as what race you are is depending on your character and the way you was raised.
Sure, it's and that's very important. It's cultural, and it depends on your experience. And hey, listen, Gerald, I got I got a break coming up. And then Don, hang on line 2. Gerald, thank you for calling. Here we go to the break.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking my call.
Project 143 gives orphans the opportunity to leave their orphanage for the summer and visit an American host family. Photos and bios are now available online. For more information or to be an orphan's family this summer, Project 143 at 720-263-7143 or project143.com. Because 143 million orphans worldwide need help. Consider hosting an orphan this summer with Project 143.
This is William, your videographer for the KNON talk shows. You can watch Get Off My Lawn by going to the KNON KNON.org website. Click on Schedules and choose Get Off My Lawn's page. Scroll to the bottom and choose your favorite show to watch. This show will be ready for viewing by Tuesday lunchtime. Have a great day.
Jim Schutze back with Get Off My Lawn. We're having a very intellectual conversation here, which is probably just basically crazy and stupid, about whether or not Mike Miles, the superintendent of schools, is black. And what business is it of mine anyway? But people are talking about it, so I'm talking about it. I hope we still have Don on line 2. Are you still there, Don?
Yes, sir.
Don, what's up today?
Well, this interesting this black-white thing. I just like most Americans, I often label that black guy or that Hispanic guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it was brought to my perspective from a lady. She was a takeout person. I'd met her in a restaurant. I went in regular. And I said one day, it's been a few years, and I said, is this a Hispanic girl? Is that the new girl? And she said, Hispanic girl? And she got offended. Well, the next time I went in there in person, because I was making her, I said, yeah, I thought. She says, well, she said, I'm from Brazil. She said, I don't understand you Americans. You say, this black guy, that white guy. She said, in Brazil, it's the guy in the blue shirt. It's the guy in the blue shirt.
That's right. Yeah, that's fair.
They don't see black and white. They see the person without the black and white label. So I just thought that was an interesting
it's very interesting, and we do absolutely. Look, there was a very sweet old lady who was a dear part of my life, elderly white lady, who's no longer with us, and she had a good heart and toward all people. But I was talking one day to her, and I told her a story I'd read about a guy, I think it was here in Dallas, who was walking down the street, and something fell out of a high-rise and killed him. It was like a piano fell on his head. The guy was walking down the street, and something fell out of the building and killed him. And she listened to the story, and she said, oh, my Lord, was it a white man? And I thought, wow, we gotta, it's just amazing how we divide reality up into that. You're absolutely right, and it's very American, and you don't find it in little kids. You'll find that your little kid will come home and talk about Richie, the kid at school, and well, who's Richie? Richie's the kid with the orange lunchbox, and when they're little, you won't get a racial description out of them. That's taught to children. That's driven into them. They have to learn from somebody. Oh no, you got to tell me that Richie's a black kid. That's what mom and dad have to know, and that's all learned behavior that doesn't come instinctually. We teach it, and that thing about Brazil is very, very interesting. So, do you think Mike Miles is a black guy?
I don't know, but I have an interesting story. It doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is at my elementary school my kids are going to, a very good grade math science teacher is leaving because of some kind of edict where his teaching methods were, we got a new principal, and he said that he has to cease and desist his teaching method. Do not do this in your class anymore. It's 2 memos. So now he's moving to another school, and he said that out of 6 years of teaching in that school, he's only had 3 students had to go to summer school. So his teaching worked. And it's a shame to lose the teacher. Anyway, I'll get off the phone.
Okay, thank you, Don. And I think that's a very legitimate issue. As with any big reform, you try to do something that massively, and a lot gets lost between the original message and what shakes down out on the front lines. I found that in talking to teachers and some principals that what's happened in some schools in this reform effort is that the word comes down from on high what's got to be done. And a lot of the teachers said they didn't disagree with the basic deal that Miles is pushing on teaching. They found that they agreed with it. They said a lot of it is not new. It's been around forever. It's just picking up bits and pieces of what's always gone on and emphasizing them differently. But their problem was that maybe they got a principal who's not too smart, or who's in trouble, or who's just worried. And so when the principal interprets all this stuff, they get very Nazi about it. And, oh, you've got to do this way and that way because the principal is scared. And so it just turns the teachers, look, nothing is worse than having somebody looking over your shoulder every second telling you what to do. I don't think anybody can stand that in any job. When I was a young man, I grew up in Detroit and I worked on the assembly line. You'd think you either do that job, how do you screw up an assembly line job? But if you had a foreman who was constantly nagging at you, it drove you crazy. And I think it's true, especially when you have somebody whose job is like a teacher. That's a really complicated, challenging job, and the teacher's got to be thinking every second about how to do it. And so part of what's gone wrong for some people here is that this reform has scared people, and it has not. There are instances where people have really legitimate gripes. I don't know that means that you ditch the reform, because look, the schools are not working the way they are. And everybody seems to come back around to that something has to be done. Call me up at 972-647-1893. 972-647-1893. I'm going to get off my thing about is Mike Miles a black man. I should switch this to, is Jim Schutze a white man? And that's an interesting question. I happen to have read a lot of there's things called population studies. There are new things that can be done now with DNA. There are genealogical studies. When you look at the number of people who were on this continent in the beginning of the 18th century, and you look at the number of people who were on this continent at the beginning of the 19th century, interesting things happen. You can't get from one number to the other number. The number increased a whole bunch. And even if you allow for immigration, what they found is you cannot get from one number to the other one without a huge amount of intermarriage. Way more intermarriage than anybody seems to think happened. And when you filter that intermarriage back down through the centuries and look how it affects everybody's family tree, guess what? Everybody who's had forebears here more than 200 years, we're all related. Distantly, but we're all related. So one of the callers mentioned the kind of racist definition of race, which is the one drop definition, that if you have one drop of black blood, you're black. Well, great. Then almost all of us, by that definition, are black. It's a stupid definition. It doesn't, race has to do with way more important things to do than that. It has to do with history and our experiences. But if you want to go by the straight race, the one drop definition, Jim Schutze is not white, because he's got black forebears somewhere back there, as do almost all white Americans. So there's another idiotic fact that we can discuss. Call me up at 972-647-1893. And we got Dan on line 3, I hope. Dan, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Dan, what's up?
Well, I'm kind of an old traditionalist, and I feel that the man is dominant, and I don't know if that's sexist. But that's a whole nother
I think
topic.
it is. I think it is. We'll answer that question. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, if the man is black,
yeah,
then
we lost you, Dan. We lost you, and it was just
if the man is Japanese and the woman is black, then you're
what's the
Japrican American?
You're what?
Japrican American.
Dan, I want to thank you for this thought. Thank you very much for calling in. This is a kind of topic that brings out all kinds of thoughts in us, and probably why I shouldn't have brought it up in the first place. It's not an entirely trivial topic because it gets to the heart of a lot of what's going on in the school debate. I hope to have two guests here next week who can talk, and they're two very smart ladies. Joyce Foreman is African American and has been an activist for in the black community on these issues, and the other is Beatrice Martinez, who's Latina, and she can bring that perspective to the school reform issue. We have a lot of conflict. I don't want to say conflict. We have a big difference of opinion about school reform between Hispanics and black people in the community right now. And the white people are all kind of sitting it out, sipping iced tea. But there is this difference of opinion about what's going on. So it's like everything else in our country. Racism is important to the degree that race is a reflection of our histories and our experiences. And it's sort of crazy to try to say it shouldn't be important because you're saying history shouldn't be important. No, history is important. History is how we got here. And it's part of what we have to understand in order to understand what's going on. We got a few minutes left, and we're eager to hear your point of view on this stuff. Call me up at 972-647-1893, 972-647-1893. On a national level, there's this thing going on where the Republicans, after the last election, decided that they needed to be more diverse because they wanted to get more votes. So they wanted to get some of those diverse votes. And the lady who for decades has represented the ultra-right in this, Phyllis Schlafly, gave a speech recently in which she said she thought this diversity thing was a big mistake and the Republicans needed to stick to just white people. So there, whenever at least conservatives tell me that race shouldn't be an issue, I got to go back to Phyllis Schlafly and say, hey, look, you guys are the ones who are banging the drum here. You keep it an issue as much as anybody. Cliff, you're on line one. How are you this morning?
Oh, good morning, Jim. I just want to make a point. The fact that we use racism or race, even talk about black and white, is a diversion from dealing with the truth and the real issues. And that's always been America's way of doing things. And my second point is that the closing of the schools and what they're doing to the principals, the same thing is happening in Chicago, and it's happening in other locations. The superintendent, his race doesn't matter. The point is he's a capitalist. And they brought that into our social arena, so he's acting like a capitalist. If he was a corporate manager, he would do exactly what he's doing now. He has to reduce costs.
Yeah.
And he has to do it at the point where there's being less profitability. So he's doing it in the neighborhood. But he's not really dealing with the true issues, and that's the different value systems. When you look at a school that's populated and has good grades, when those children go to school, most of those school children, before they leave school, they've eaten a complete breakfast.
Yeah.
They've got a mother and a father say goodbye. They're leaving a house. They're properly clothed. They're properly managed. Mm-hmm. You don't have that in the neighborhoods where he's closing the schools. I just want to make that point. And it doesn't matter what color a person is. We all live and die in the same way, and that's only used as a distraction. Thank you.
Thanks, and those were all excellent points, and this is the other side of the debate. Can this school reform thing almost be twisted around as an excuse to ignore the role of poverty, which is huge? As Cliff said, it's very important for the kid not to be sitting there so hungry all day that's all he can think about. And there are ways, and we have attempted as a society imperfectly to address those issues, but there are ways to address them. If the kid's hungry, one cool way to solve that is to give him some food. So Cliff is right that there are these other very, very important issues that cannot be ignored. I don't think they are being ignored by miles. I think what you're going to get out of Miles's reform, for example, is in some ways more attention to that stuff. One thing I find, and this for some reason doesn't get out, but in his public remarks, Miles is a big defender of public education, and he's very hip to the fact that there are some people, some critics of public education who'd like to do away with it and who'd like to turn the whole thing over to private entities. And that's not his deal. I think he is fighting to try to shore up public education against that assault, to give public education some successes, so that when it gets down to the brass tacks, public education can say, wait a minute, we're doing just as well as you are or better. And in fact, that's what the numbers show. The private, the charter operators cannot come to this debate and claim superiority in terms of what they produce to public education, because it's not there in the numbers. And I think Miles is fighting to make public education's side of the equation even stronger. But Cliff is absolutely right that the race debate has been, among other things, a huge trick from the beginning to get us, to fool us all into not looking at the real issues, which have to do with opportunity and jobs and income and people's real share of the pie, not their racial share of the pie. And it's in particular has been especially effective at getting white people to not perceive their true self-interest, to believe that what they want to spend all their political capital on is some ethnic junk, and therefore they won't, you know, it's kind of like the little man behind the curtain. Oh, don't bother looking at that little man behind the curtain who's got the money bags all stacked up around him. Just, no, you want to go out and fight these very important racial battles. And Cliff is right. It's a trick on all of us. We're coming up on the end. Do we have somebody on line 3? No.
Guess for the next show.
Oh, for the next show. Well, look, you don't have to wait for that show. This is the. If you have any money that you want to pledge, I suggest you get on right now and do it during this show. But okay, all right. They're lining up. They line up during my show to wait to be on David Taffet's show. Can you believe it? This is just adds insult to injury, I must say.
No respect.
Yeah, no respect whatsoever. Anyway, we've had lots of good calls, and I hope you'll be here next week. I hope to have some good guests the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping, I don't have him nailed down yet, but a couple of weeks out, I'm hoping I can get Thierry Pierre-Marty, who's a French jazz critic who happens to live in Dallas, to come in here and talk to me about white blues versus black blues. He's working on a project, and it's really interesting to hear this guy's insights. You know, sometimes it takes a guy who's from a little bit outside the campfire ring to give you perspective on what's going on in your own place. And I happened to be around him recently, and he was talking about this project and what he's learning, and it's fascinating stuff. So hope he'll be here a couple of weeks from now. I hope next week we'll have Joyce Foreman and Beatrice Martinez. Glad to have you here this week. Jim Schutze with Get Off My Lawn. We'll see you in a week. And all you guests have been eagerly waiting for David Taffet. He'll be here in a minute. Don't go away. Bye.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.